I stared at the permanently closed sign, hanging in the window of what used to be my pride and joy. Delightful Occasions Catering. 15 years of blood, sweat, and the occasional burnt souffle gone in the blink of an eye. Or more accurately, with the stroke of a pen wielded by the man I thought would love me forever. My name is Tabitha, and until 6 months ago, I was living my dream. Now I'm standing in the rain, watching another woman arrange flowers in what used to be my office. "You can't keep doing this to yourself," my brother Curtis said, gently pulling me away from the window. "Come on, I'm taking you to that support group I told you about." "I'm not going to sit in a circle and cry about my feelings," I protested, but he was already steering me toward his car. "It's not that kind of group. It's for women entrepreneurs. You need to be around people who understand what you're going through." 45 minutes later, I found myself in a bright community center room, surrounded by women who looked nothing like the broken mess I felt inside. They were vibrant, determined, and angry. The energy was electric. A tall woman with close-cropped silver hair approached me. "I'm Mara," she said, extending her hand. "Welcome to Phoenix Rising. We help women rebuild their businesses after setbacks." "Setbacks?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what we're calling it when your husband secretly transfers all your business assets to a shell company and leaves you with nothing but a best wife coffee mug?" Several heads turned. A younger woman across the room caught my eye, her face a mirror of my pain. "That's Serena," Mara whispered. "She's new too. Only 23, but already trying to start her own business. Tough story. Her father abandoned her and her mom when she was little." The meeting started, and women began sharing their stories. When it was Serena's turn, she stood nervously, twisting a silver bracelet around her wrist. "I'm trying to launch my own event planning company," she said. "But it's hard without any guidance. My father—" She paused, swallowing hard. "Omar Stevenson walked out when I was 2. Now he runs this huge hospitality empire, but he won't even take my calls." The room tilted. My coffee cup slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. Omar, my Omar. The same man who had stolen my business, my future, had a daughter he'd abandoned. "Are you okay?" Mara asked, helping me clean up the mess. "Fine," I managed. "Just clumsy." After the meeting, I watched Serena gathering her things. She had his eyes, his determined set of the jaw. How had I never known? "Hey," I said, approaching her. "I couldn't help but overhear about your event planning ambitions. I used to be in that industry." Her face lit up. "Really? I'd love to hear about your experience. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime. I'd be happy to share some insights." "That would be amazing." She fumbled in her bag for her phone. "I've been trying to find someone to mentor me, but it's so hard to get anyone to take me seriously." As we exchanged numbers, my mind was already racing with possibilities. Omar had taken everything from me, and now fate had handed me the perfect weapon, his own flesh and blood. "I have a feeling we're going to work really well together," I said, smiling. On the drive home, Curtis noticed my changed mood. "You seem better. The group helped?" I thought about Serena's eager face, about Omar's empire built on my stolen dreams, about karma and justice and revenge served cold. "Oh, yes," I said. "I think I've finally found my new purpose." "That's great," Curtis beamed. "What is it?" I watched the city lights blur past my window. "I'm going to be a mentor," I said softly. "I'm going to help someone achieve their dreams." I just didn't mention that those dreams would be built on the ashes of Omar's empire. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a smile and a helping hand. That night, I lay in bed scrolling through Serena's social media. She was everything Omar wasn't: genuine, hardworking, determined to make it on her own merit. In another life, I might have loved her like a daughter. My phone buzzed with a text. "Thank you again for offering to help. Can we meet tomorrow, Serena?" I typed back, "Absolutely," and then set my phone aside, staring at the ceiling. The guilt was already there, a small knot in my stomach, but I pushed it away. Omar had taught me that in business, just like in love, there was no room for conscience. Besides, I told myself, I really would help Serena succeed. The fact that her success would destroy her father, well, that was just a bonus. I closed my eyes, and for the first time since Omar's betrayal, I slept without tears. The coffee shop buzzed with morning energy as I waited for Serena, my laptop open to a carefully crafted business plan. Not hers, mine, the one Omar had used as a template to build his empire after destroying mine. Sorry I'm late, Serena rushed in, her cheeks flushed from the cold. The bus was running behind schedule. No problem, I smiled, pushing a vanilla latte toward her. I remembered you mentioned it was your favorite at the meeting. Her eyes lit up. You did? That's so thoughtful. She took a sip and pulled out a worn notebook. I've been brainstorming ideas all night. I leaned forward, studying her enthusiasm. Tell me what you envision for your company. Well, I want to focus on sustainable event planning. Working with local vendors, minimizing waste, creating experiences that don't harm the environment. She bit her lip. Is that too niche? I felt a twist in my chest. Her ideas were fresh, innovative. Everything Omar would hate. Perfect. Actually, it's brilliant, I said. The market is shifting that way, but you'll need to understand the traditional model first to know what you're disrupting. For the next hour, I walked her through the basics of event planning, watching her scribble notes frantically. She was a natural, asking sharp questions that showed real business instinct. The key, I explained, is building the right relationships. I still know most of the major vendors in the city. I could introduce you. Really? Her eyes widened. But why would you help me so much? We barely know each other. I had prepared for this question. Because I see myself in you. Young, ambitious, fighting to make it in a male-dominated industry. Besides, I added carefully, I'm not a fan of seeing talent go to waste just because someone lacks connections. Like my father, she said quietly. Tell me about him, I prompted, though my stomach churned. Why won't he help you? Serena's fingers tightened around her cup. He knows I exist. My mom made sure of that, but he's always treated me like a mistake he'd rather forget. Last year, I went to his office. She laughed bitterly. His secretary said he was in a meeting. I waited 6 hours. He never came out. What a coward, I said, meaning it. But you know what? We're going to make him notice you. How? I pulled out my tablet, showing her a contract bid. The city's annual Earth Day festival needs an event planner. It's exactly the kind of sustainable event you want to specialize in. The current contractor? I paused for effect. It's your father's company. Her face fell. Then I don't have a chance. Wrong, I said firmly. You have me. And I know exactly how to win this bid. My phone buzzed. A text from Curtis. How's the mentoring going? Remember, karma works both ways. I ignored it. Look, I told Serena, I'm going to be honest with you. This won't be easy. We'll need to work harder, be smarter, and move faster than everyone else. Are you ready for that? She straightened in her chair, and for a moment, I saw Omar's determination in her face. But there was something else there too. Something genuine and pure that he'd never had. I'm ready, she said. When do we start? Right now. I opened my laptop. First, we need to register your company. What are you thinking of calling it? Green Dreams Events, she said without hesitation, because everyone deserves to have their dreams come true without costing the earth. I smiled, remembering how I'd once been that idealistic. Perfect. Now, let's talk strategy. The bid deadline is in 6 weeks. We'll need to move fast. For the next 3 hours, we mapped out a plan. With each detail we discussed, I could see her confidence growing. By the time we finished, she was practically glowing with excitement. I can't believe this is really happening, she said as we packed up. Thank you, Tabitha. You have no idea what this means to me. I watched her leave, then pulled out my phone to text Curtis back. The mentoring is going exactly as planned. That evening, I sat in my apartment, updating my revenge spreadsheet. Column A, Omar's business weaknesses. Column B, Serena's natural strengths. Column C, timeline for destruction. My phone rang. It was Mara from the support group. How was coffee with Serena? She asked. Productive, I replied. She has real potential. Good. Just be careful, Tabitha. Revenge might feel good, but it can poison everything it touches. I froze. What makes you think? I've been doing this a long time, she cut in. I know that look in your eyes. Just remember, Serena is a person, not a weapon. After hanging up, I stared at my spreadsheet. Column D was empty. Its header read, Exit Strategy. Because sooner or later, Serena would discover the truth. And when she did, I needed to be ready for the consequences. But for now, I had work to do. Tomorrow, we'd start dismantling Omar's empire, one sustainable event at a time. No, 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 I said, watching Serena fumble through her presentation. You need to own that room like you built it yourself. Start over. We were in my living room, using my coffee table as a makeshift podium. 3 weeks had passed since our first meeting, and the Earth Day Festival bid presentation was approaching fast. Serena groaned, shuffling her notes. I feel like an imposter. These people will see right through me. Look at me, I commanded, turning her to face the mirror I'd set up. What do you see? A scared kid playing dress up? Wrong. I see Omar Stevenson's daughter, with twice his talent and none of his ethical shortcomings. Now show me that fire I know is in there. She squared her shoulders, took a deep breath, and started again. This time her voice didn't shake. Green Dreams Events doesn't just plan celebrations. We create sustainable memories that honor both our clients and our planet. I smiled. Perfect. The door buzzed, interrupting her flow. Pizza's here, called Curtis, letting himself in with the food. How's the training going? Your sister's a drill sergeant, Serena laughed, grabbing a slice. You have no idea, Curtis said, giving me a pointed look. She's always been focused. I shot him a warning glare. Focus gets results. Speaking of which, I have something to show you, Serena. I pulled out my tablet, opening a file I'd been saving for the right moment. Remember how your father won the festival contract last year? Look at these complaints I found. Serena leaned in, scanning the documents. These are all about excessive waste and inflated costs. How did you get these? I have my sources, I said smoothly, ignoring Curtis's disapproving frown. The point is, your sustainable approach isn't just trendy, it's necessary. The city council is looking for exactly what you're offering. But why didn't anyone act on these complaints? Because your father is very good at burying bad news, I said, and making problems disappear. Curtis cleared his throat. Maybe we should focus on Serena's proposal, not her father's mistakes. You're right, I conceded, though the documents had served their purpose. I could see the anger simmering in Serena's eyes. After Curtis left, we worked late into the night, refining her presentation. Around midnight, Serena started asking questions I'd been dreading. How do you know so much about the industry? About my father's business? I kept my voice casual. I used to run a catering company. You pick up things over the years. What happened to it? Bad partnership, I said shortly. Let's focus on your closing statement. She persisted. You never talk about yourself, Tabitha. Sometimes I feel like you're holding something back. My heart raced, but years of business negotiations had taught me how to keep my face neutral. Everyone has parts of their past they'd rather not discuss, like your father. That deflected her attention effectively. True. You know what really kills me? He has this whole public image as a family man. His website even has this quote about family values being the cornerstone of our business. Sounds like false advertising, I said, seizing the opportunity. Maybe someone should expose the truth. What do you mean? Nothing yet. But keep those documents I showed you. They might come in handy. Later that night, after Serena left, I received a text from Mara. Heard through the grapevine that Omar's getting nervous about the festival bid. Whatever you're doing, it's working. I smiled, opening my laptop to check Omar's company stock price. It had dropped 3 points since rumors of the festival contract being up for grabs had started circulating. My phone buzzed again, Serena this time. Thank you for everything. You're like the mother I never had. The words hit me like a physical blow. I closed my eyes, remembering the daughter I'd always wanted, the family Omar and I had planned before business became his only love. You're welcome, I typed back, my fingers trembling slightly. Get some rest. Big day tomorrow. I opened my revenge spreadsheet, staring at that empty column D. The exit strategy remained blank, but now it seemed more crucial than ever, because Serena wasn't just a pawn anymore. She was becoming the daughter I'd never had. My phone rang one last time. Curtis. She's not just a means to an end anymore, is she? He asked without preamble. Of course she is, I lied. Tabs, I saw how you looked at her tonight. This isn't just about Omar anymore. Everything is about Omar, I snapped. He took everything from me. No, Curtis said softly. You're letting him take your humanity too. Don't let revenge cost you another chance at family. I hung up without responding, but his words echoed in my head. Tomorrow, we'd continue our campaign against Omar. But for the first time, I wondered if victory would taste as sweet as I'd imagined. Because every time Serena smiled at me with trust in her eyes, the price of revenge got higher. The city council chamber buzzed with tension as Serena stood at the podium, commanding the room like she'd been born for this moment. In a way, she had been. And that's why Green Dreams events can deliver this festival at 20% under budget, while reducing environmental impact by 40%, she concluded, her voice strong and clear. From my seat in the back, I watched Omar's representative shift uncomfortably in his expensive suit. They hadn't expected this level of competition, especially not from a newcomer. A council member leaned forward. Ms. Kelly, these numbers are impressive, but you're very young. What makes you qualified to handle an event of this magnitude? Before Serena could answer, a voice called from the audience. I can speak to that. My heart stopped. It was Allison from the support group, rising to her feet. I'm the sustainability coordinator for River City College, she continued. Ms. Kelly recently handled our Earth Week celebrations. The event came in under budget and received national attention for its innovative approach. I smiled. Calling in that favor from Allison had been worth every penny I'd invested in her startup. The council members nodded approvingly. Omar's man was now openly sweating. After the presentation, Serena practically floated out of the chamber. Did you see their faces? They actually took me seriously. Of course they did, I said, hugging her. You were brilliant. Thank you for connecting me with Allison, she said. Having her endorse me like that. Speaking of connections, I cut in, checking my phone. My source says the council's already leaning toward your bid. Omar's company is scrambling to revise their proposal. Serena's face hardened at the mention of her father. Good, let them scramble. We celebrated at a small cafe nearby, joined by Allison and Mara. As they chatted, I noticed a man in a dark suit watching us from across the street. He took a photo with his phone and walked away. My instincts screamed danger. Excuse me, I said, stepping outside to make a call. Curtis, I need you to check something. Is Omar having Serena followed? Already on it, my brother replied. He's hired private investigators. Tabs, he's going to figure it out soon. Not before we win this contract, I said firmly. Just keep monitoring the situation. Back inside, Serena was showing Mara her presentation slides. I couldn't have done any of this without Tabitha, she was saying. She's taught me everything I know. Mara caught my eye. Everything? I looked away, but not before seeing the knowing disappointment in her face. That evening, as I drove Serena home, she was uncharacteristically quiet. Something wrong? I asked. I got an email today, she said. From my father's company. They're offering me a job. The car swerved slightly before I steadied it. What? Junior event coordinator, good salary, benefits. She laughed bitterly. Now he notices me? When I'm actually threatening his business? What are you going to do? Tell him to shove it, she said firmly. I'd rather succeed on my own than take his charity now. Pride and guilt warred in my chest. Good girl. Back home, I found an unmarked envelope in my mailbox. Inside was a single photo, me and Omar at our wedding 15 years ago. On the back was written, "Who's really using who?" My hands shook as I called Curtis. He knows, I said without preamble. Not everything, Curtis assured me. Not yet. But Tabs, you need to tell Serena the truth before he does. I can't. She'll hate me. She'll hate you more if she learns it from him. I hung up and poured myself a large glass of wine, staring at my reflection in the window. The woman looking back at me seemed older, harder than the one in that wedding photo. My phone buzzed with a text from Serena. The council wants another meeting tomorrow. They have questions about our cost analysis. I texted back, "You've got this. Just remember everything I taught you. Everything I taught you. Everything I learned from building the business Omar stole. Everything I plan to use to destroy him." Another text came through, this one from an unknown number. "Back off now, or everyone learns the truth." Oh. I deleted it without responding. Omar had taught me well, never negotiate with threats. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't sleep. On my nightstand, a framed photo showed Serena and me at her first successful event, both of us beaming at the camera. It was genuine joy in our faces, not just triumph over Omar. When had this stopped being about revenge and started being about something more? My phone lit up one last time. Serena again. "Thank you for believing in me when my own father wouldn't." I turned the phone face down, but not before a tear splashed on the screen. Tomorrow we'd move forward with our plan. Tomorrow we'd continue dismantling Omar's empire. But tonight, in the darkness of my bedroom, I finally filled in column D of my spreadsheet. Exit strategy. Tell her everything. Hope for forgiveness. Pray it's not too late. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. "Local startup wins Earth Day Festival contract over industry giant," screamed the headlines. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. "We did it!" Serena's voice bubbled through the speaker. "Can you believe it? We actually did it!" "You did it," I corrected her, ignoring the twisting in my stomach. "This was all you." "No way! I'm taking you to dinner tonight to celebrate. My treat. No arguments," I agreed, then immediately called Curtis. "Omar's going to retaliate. He always does." "Already happening," Curtis replied. "His team is digging into Serena's background, and yours. They've requested your old business records." My hands started shaking. "How long?" "Days, maybe hours. Tabs, you need to—" A knock at my door cut him off. Through the peephole, I saw Omar himself, looking exactly as he had 6 months ago when he'd stolen everything from me. "I have to go," I whispered into the phone. "He's here." I opened the door, keeping the security chain latched. "What do you want?" "To talk," he said smoothly. "About our daughter." The words hit like a slap. "She's not our daughter." "No, she's mine, and you've been using her to get back at me." His smile turned cruel. "How long did it take you to figure it out? Did you know before you approached her at that support group, or was it just a happy coincidence?" "Leave, Omar." "I'm giving you one chance," he said. "End this now. Tell her you can't mentor her anymore. Walk away." "Or what?" "Or I tell her everything. About you, about your vendetta, about how you've been manipulating her from day one." He slipped a business card under the door. "You have until tonight." After he left, I sank to the floor, the card crumpled in my fist. My phone buzzed again, Mara this time. "Emergency meeting," she said when I answered. "Now." 20 minutes later, I sat in her office at the community center while she paced. "Omar came to see me too," she said. "He's threatening to shut down the support group if I don't help him stop you." "I'm sorry, I never meant—" "Save it," she cut me off. "What's your plan?" "I don't know anymore. Serena's taking me to dinner tonight to celebrate." Perfect time to tell her the truth. I laughed hollowly. And ruin her moment of triumph? Better than letting her father do it. My phone chimed with a text from Serena. "Reservation at 7. Dress fancy. P.S. Got another huge client today." "She's really doing it," I said softly. "Building something real. Something that has nothing to do with Omar or revenge or you," Mara finished. "That's the problem, isn't it? She's not just a pawn anymore." The rest of the day passed in a blur. I changed outfits 3 times, wrote and deleted a confession speech 5 times, and ignored 7 calls from Curtis. At 6:55, I walked into the restaurant. Serena was already there, radiant in a green dress, champagne waiting at the table. "To new beginnings," she toasted. I raised my glass, the words stuck in my throat. Serena, I need to tell you something. Me first, she interrupted. I got a weird email today. Someone sent me old newspaper articles about my father's business practices, about how he acquired his companies. She paused, including one called Delightful Occasions Catering. My glass froze halfway to my lips. So I did some digging, she continued, her voice eerily calm. That was your company, wasn't it? The one you said you lost to a bad partnership? Serena, were you ever going to tell me? Or was I just part of your revenge plan? It's not that simple, I started, but she cut me off. Did you know who I was when you offered to mentor me? The restaurant seemed to spin around us. Yes. She stood up so quickly her chair scraped loudly against the floor. I trusted you. I thought you cared about me. I do care. That's why. Don't. Her voice cracked. Just don't. As she turned to leave, Omar appeared at the restaurant entrance. His timing, as always, was perfect. Serena, he called out, I think it's time we had a real father-daughter talk. She looked between us, tears streaming down her face. You're both the same. Using people, manipulating them. Honey, wait. I reached for her arm. She jerked away. Don't call me that. Don't ever contact me again. I watched her push past Omar and disappear into the night. He lingered just long enough to smirk at me before following her. My phone buzzed one last time. Curtis, coming to get you. Don't move. But I was already moving, running out into the street, calling Serena's name into the empty darkness. I had won my revenge, but lost something far more precious in the process. 3 days of unanswered calls, 72 hours of silence. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by empty coffee cups and regret, when Curtis burst in without knocking. Get up, he commanded. You need to see this. He thrust his tablet at me. On the screen was a press conference, Omar standing behind a podium with Serena at his side. You're proud to announce that my daughter will be joining Stevenson Hospitality as our new director of sustainable events, Omar was saying, his arm around Serena's shoulders. She smiled for the cameras, but I knew that smile. It was the same one I'd worn for years with Omar. Brittle, practiced, hollow. He's absorbing her company, Curtis explained, making it a subsidiary of his corporation. No, I whispered. She wouldn't. She already did. Papers were signed this morning. My phone rang. Mara. Are you watching this? Yes. Get to the community center, now. Bring Curtis. 20 minutes later, we sat in Mara's office with Allison watching the press conference replay on a larger screen. Look at her body language, Allison pointed out. She's terrified. Omar's threatening her, I said. I know his playbook. First the charm, then the threats, then the slow crushing of spirit. How do you know? Mara asked. Because that's what he did to me. He's not offering her an opportunity. He's eliminating a threat. Curtis leaned forward. We need to stop this. We? I looked at him. There is no we. I've done enough damage. Actually, Allison said, pulling out her phone. Serena texted me last night. She asked for the documentation from that college event, the one I endorsed her for at the council meeting. Why? Because it never happened, Allison admitted. You paid me to lie. Omar's lawyers are investigating, and when they find out, they'll use it to destroy her, I finished. He'll make sure she takes all the blame. Mara stood up. So, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. She doesn't want my help. Bullshit, Curtis snapped. You created this mess. Now fix it. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. The text read, Cafe across from his office. 30 minutes. Come alone. S. The cafe was nearly empty when I arrived. Serena sat in a corner booth, looking exhausted. You came, she said as I sat down. Of course I came. He's going to ruin me, she said without preamble. He has proof the college event was fake. Says he'll go public unless I sign over everything. I'm so sorry, Serena. This is all my fault. Yes, it is. Her voice was hard. But he's worse. At least you taught me something real along the way. He just wants to destroy everything I've built. We can fight him. How? He has all the power, all the evidence. I pulled out my phone, opening files I'd kept for just such an occasion. No, he doesn't. Remember those complaints I showed you? They're real. So are these. I slid the phone across the table. Bank records, proof of how he stole my company, and others. She scrolled through the documents, her eyes widening. This would ruin him. It would, but using it comes with a price. What price? The truth. All of it. In public. About him, about me, about everything. She was quiet for a long moment. Why are you helping me? After everything? Because you were never just revenge to me. Somewhere along the way, you became... I couldn't finish. The daughter you never had? Her voice cracked slightly. Yes, and I betrayed that. She wiped her eyes. I have a press conference tomorrow to announce the merger. I know. He's making me read a statement about how he's always supported me, how he's been a wonderful father. Then let's give them a different story. For the first time in days, I saw a flash of the old Serena, determined, fierce, unstoppable. What's the plan? She asked. We talked for hours, plotting and planning. When we finally left the cafe, the sun was setting. I'm still angry with you, she said as we stood on the sidewalk. I know. But I understand why you did it. And maybe someday... She didn't finish, but she did something that made my heart stop. She hugged me quickly before turning away. My phone buzzed as I watched her leave. Omar. I won. Accept it. I smiled, typing back, watch tomorrow's press conference. That night, I updated my spreadsheet one last time. Column D finally had its exit strategy. Tell the truth. All of it. Together. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's redemption. Curtis called just before midnight. You sure about this? No, I admitted. But it's the right thing to do. Finally, he said softly. Welcome back, sis. Tomorrow would change everything, but for the first time since Omar had stolen my company, I felt truly free. The press conference room was packed. I stood at the back, watching Omar adjust his tie at the podium, his practiced smile firmly in place. Serena sat behind him, wearing the green dress from that disastrous dinner, a deliberate choice we'd discussed. Ladies and gentlemen, Omar began, today marks a proud moment for our family and our company. Serena caught my eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. I pressed send on my phone. Suddenly, every journalist's phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. I watched their faces as they opened the documents I'd just sent. Bank records, fraudulent contracts, evidence of Omar's systematic destruction of small businesses, including my own. Omar's voice faltered as reporters began whispering and raising their hands. Mr. Stevenson, called out a reporter from the front row, can you comment on these allegations of fraudulent business practices? What allegations? Omar's smile slipped slightly. The documents we've just received suggest you've systematically destroyed small businesses through illegal means, another journalist shouted. Omar's face darkened. Those documents are fake. This press conference is about welcoming my daughter. Your daughter? Serena stood up, her voice clear and strong. The one you abandoned for 23 years? The one you only noticed when she became a threat to your business? The room erupted in camera flashes. Omar spun around. Serena, sit down. No. She walked to the podium, gently pushing him aside. I have my own statement to make. Don't do this, he hissed. My name is Serena Kelly, she continued, ignoring him, and I'm here to tell you the true story of Omar Stevenson's empire, how it was built on stolen dreams and broken promises. She detailed everything, his abandonment of her mother, his theft of my company, his recent attempts to destroy her own business. With each word, I watched Omar's carefully constructed facade crumble. You ungrateful! He lunged for the microphone, but Curtis, who'd been waiting in the wings, stepped between them. That's enough, Omar, he said quietly. Security, Omar shouted. They work for the building, not you, I said, finally stepping forward. And they've seen the evidence too. The reporters were in a frenzy now, shouting questions. Omar's face had turned an alarming shade of red. This is all your fault, he snarled at me. You turned my own daughter against me. No, Serena cut in. You did that yourself 23 years ago. Tabitha just showed me I deserved better. Everything I did for success, Omar spat. You think being nice builds empires? No, I said, but it builds something better, family. He laughed bitterly. Family? You tried to destroy me using my own daughter. Yes, I admitted, facing the cameras. I did. I was so consumed by revenge that I almost became exactly like you, almost. Serena touched my arm. But you stopped. You chose truth over revenge. Omar looked between us, realization dawning. You're both finished. These allegations will take years to prove in court. By then, your precious green dreams will be bankrupt. Actually, Mara's voice rang out as she entered with Allison, the Women's Business Alliance has already pledged full support to Green Dreams events, including financial backing. And legal support, Allison added, waving a folder. Pro bono. Omar's face went from red to white. He grabbed his jacket and pushed through the crowd of reporters, ignoring their questions. Mr. Stevenson, is it true you abandoned your daughter? Did you deliberately destroy your ex-wife's business? Are you stepping down as CEO? The doors slammed behind him. In the chaos that followed, Serena gripped my hand. Did we just do that? We did, I squeezed back. Are you okay? No, she laughed shakily, but I will be. The next few hours were a blur of interviews and statements. By evening, Omar's company stock had plummeted, and the Sarn Stevenson scandal was trending nationwide. Later, at the support group's office, we gathered to watch the news coverage. Board of directors calling for his resignation, Curtis reported, checking his phone. 3 major clients already canceled contracts. And 6 more signed with Green Dreams, Allison added. Mara brought out a bottle of champagne. To karma. To truth, I corrected, looking at Serena. She raised her glass. To family, the ones we choose. My phone buzzed one last time. Omar, you've destroyed everything. I showed the message to Serena. Together we typed the response. No, we just rebuilt something better. Then we blocked his number. Outside, reporters were still camped out, waiting for more statements. But in that moment, surrounded by real family, Curtis, Mara, Allison, and most importantly, Serena, I finally felt the weight of revenge lift from my shoulders. What now? Serena asked softly. Now, I smiled. We build something honest, together. The empire Omar had built on lies was crumbling, but from its ashes, something true was rising, and this time, no one would steal it away. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee and fresh pastries as I unlocked the doors of our newest venture, Sweet Redemption Cafe and Events. The morning sun caught the gold lettering on the window, where every celebration tells a story. You're early, Serena said, coming up behind me with a stack of portfolios. Couldn't sleep. Big day. Inside, the cafe space flowed seamlessly into our event planning offices. Photos lined the walls, celebrations we'd planned, moments we'd created, families we'd brought together. The reporter will be here at 9, Serena reminded me, arranging fresh flowers on the tables. Are you ready to tell our story? Our real story this time, I smiled. No more secrets. The bell chimed as Curtis entered, carrying a familiar-looking box. Look what I found in Mom's attic. Inside were photos from my first catering business, pictures of me in my 20s, full of dreams and determination. Serena picked one up. You look so happy here, she said. I was, but not as happy as I am now. The door chimed again. Mara and Allison arrived with the rest of the support group members, all carrying dishes for our opening day potluck. This is what community looks like, Mara said, hugging me. Not empire building. As we set up, my phone buzzed, a news alert. Omar had been indicted on multiple fraud charges. The photo showed him leaving court, looking older and defeated. Serena read over my shoulder. I heard he's been trying to contact me. And? I'm not ready, she said. Maybe someday, but right now, I have all the family I need right here. The reporter arrived precisely at 9, a young woman with kind eyes and a recorder. So, she began, tell me how Sweet Redemption was born. Serena and I exchanged glances. It started with revenge, I admitted, but it became about redemption. We told her everything, the betrayal, the plotting, The moment truth became more important than vengeance. As we spoke, customers began filtering in, drawn by the grand opening signs and the warmth emanating from within. "And now?" the reporter asked. "Now we help other women rebuild," Serena explained. "Every event we plan, every celebration we create is for someone starting over." "Like that wedding last week," I added. "The bride was starting her own business while planning her wedding. We helped with both." "You're not just event planners, then?" "We're story changers," Serena said firmly. "Every person who walks through that door has a story. We help them make it better." The interview wrapped up just as Curtis called everyone's attention. He stood by the cafe's feature wall, where dozens of small brass plaques gleamed. "Time for the final touch," he said, holding up 2 more plaques. The first read, "Tabitha, from revenge to redemption." The second, "Serena, building dreams, not empires." "These go with all the others," he explained to the reporter. "Every woman who rebuilds her life through our support group gets a plaque. Their stories inspire others." As the day progressed, the cafe filled with laughter and conversation. Women from the support group shared their stories with customers. Business cards were exchanged. Dreams were sparked. Near closing time, an elderly woman approached our counter. "I read about you two in the papers," she said. "About what that man did, and how you fought back." "That's us," I acknowledged. "My husband did something similar 30 years ago. I never fought back." She straightened her shoulders. "But I'm ready now." Serena grabbed a business card. "Support group meets Tuesdays at 7. Come tell your story." After she left, Serena turned to me. "That's why we're really here, isn't it? Not for revenge, not even for redemption, but for them." "For everyone who needs to rewrite their story," I agreed. The last customer left as the sun was setting. Our family, the one we'd chosen, gathered around a table laden with leftover pastries and coffee. "To sweet redemption," Curtis toasted with his coffee cup. "To sweet justice," Mara added with a wink. "To the stories yet to come," I said, looking at Serena. She smiled, raising her cup. "To the family we choose and the dreams we build together." Outside, the city was winding down, but inside our cafe, something was just beginning. Not an empire built on lies, but a community built on truth. Not a revenge story, but a redemption story. And as I looked around at these faces, my brother, my chosen daughter, our friends, our community, I realized that sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, loving deeply, and helping others do the same. "Ready to lock up?" Serena asked. "Not just yet," I said. "I want to enjoy this moment a little longer." Because this moment, this truth, this family, this redemption, was everything Omar had never understood. And that was the sweetest victory of all.